Good afternoon, everyone. For today's discussion, we will be discussing about New Historism and Cultural Materialism. So let's talk about first the New Historism. Stephen Greenblatt. Stephen J. Greenblatt is an American Shakespearean, literary historian, and author. He developed New Historism during the 1980s and widely spread New Historism during 1990s. So what is New Historism? New Historism is literary theory based on the idea of literature should be studied and interpreted within the context of the history of the author and the history of the critic. It is also a method based on the parallel reading of literary and non-literary texts, usually on the same historical period. So basically, literature must be interpreted and studied within the context of the history of the critic and the history of the author. The main focus of it is to look at the elements outside the work instead of just reading the text. New Historism is also provides background information necessary to understand how literary texts were perceived in their time. So it shows how literary texts reflect ideas and attitudes of the time in which they were written.
So, after tackling about the new historism, we will go for the important critic of new historism. So, Louis Montrose, he is well known for his work with Renaissance theater and poetry. He is a professor of English of the University of California. H.R.M. Visser, he edited a collection of essays called New Historism. So, let's go to the characteristics of New Historism. So first, placing the literary text, the frame of non-literary text. Second, New Historicism's goal is to understand intellectual history through literature and literature through its culture. For example, Oliver Twist is a work of literature published in Victorian period in English history. It reflects the history of the social, cultural, and political climate of England that time. So, if the new historist will study the work of Oliver Twist, the non-literary text of the work is the government policies passed during the era where it tells about the social, cultural, and political atmosphere of the period. Literary texts, on the other hand, are the linguistic texts of the work, such as the use of literary devices and the meaning behind the text.
Good day, everyone. I will introduce to you who is Marvin Harris. So, Marvin Harris was an American anthropologist. He was born in Brooklyn, New York City, and he is a prolific writer. He is also a highly influential in the development of cultural materialism and environmental determinism. So, in his work, he combined the Karl Marx emphasis on forces of production with Thomas Malthus' insights on the impact of demographic factors on other parts of social-cultural system. So, next is the cultural materialism. So, cultural materialism is an anthropological research orientation first introduced by Marvin Harris in his 1968 book, The Rise of Anthropological Theory. So, cultural materialism is one of the major anthropological perspectives for analyzing human societies. It incorporates ideas from Marxism, cultural evolution, and cultural ecology. Materialism contends that the physical world impacts and sets constraints on human behavior.
So as what Dimple have said, we have three distinct levels of cultural materialism, and these are the infrastructure, structure, and superstructure. So let's talk about infrastructure first. So these materials or the infrastructure consist of the technology and social practices by which a society fits into its environment. It is through infrastructure that society manipulates its environment by modifying the amount of type resources needed. Next, we have structural. So structural consists of organized patterns of social life carried out among members of the society. So example of these are family structure, domestic division of labor, education, and age and sex roles. We have here also community, domestic, discipline, hierarchy, sanctions. We also have voluntary organization, friendship networks, and some religious groups. And for the last level, we have here the superstructure. So superstructure consists of ideological and symbolic aspect of society. An example, we have here religion, science, art, music. So therefore, cultural materialists believe that technological and economic aspects play the primary role in shaping a society. It aims to understand the effects of technological, economic, and demographic factors in molding societal structure and superstructure through strictly scientific methods. That is all. Thank you.